Hello all, I'm your omnipotent voice for the day, and I'd like to talk to you a little about originality. Actually, I want to talk about a few things, but they all center one way or another around originality. To begin, I want to start at the term echo chamber. For anyone who's unaware, this refers to the societal version of regular-ass echo. You shout at a wall, your voice bounces back, you hear it, the societal version of which is you say something, someone hears you, they say the same thing, and someone hears them. And this goes on and on. Many people speaking, all just repeating each other and echoing themselves at themselves. Normally this would be used to refer to a group of people. Like if I had a team of employees helping me make these videos, and I would go to them and say, what kind of video should we make next? I was thinking X. And they all just started repeating how awesome a video about X would be, but no one actually said anything new or informative. They just kept confirming a video about X would be cool as shit. Someone else might say to me, why do you bother holding these meetings? It's just an echo chamber. However, this term has expanded to society as a whole. So now people say things like, I don't watch the news. It's just a giant echo chamber. But I want to take, to some degree, an opposite approach to thinking about this. Because, in moderate use, echo chambers can actually be a good thing. An echo, at its core, is just a repetition of something else that's been said. So if someone says something interesting, and the echo chamber starts repeating it, then, through the use of the echo chamber, the voice of the original speaker can be spread louder, faster, and across a further, wider plane. The echo chamber can take a niche song and raise it to the surface so that people who had never heard the original can be made aware of it. A real-world example of this would be the very well-known song and video, This Is America. Personally, I never would have heard the song if it wasn't for the memes about it. People heard it, thought it was wild, ran it through the echo chamber, and spit out memes across the land. I saw these memes and decided to see what they were based on, and this led to me hearing the song and seeing the video, which was amazing. The echo chamber helped an original artist get their voice out there, further, farther, and deeper than they would have without it. Now, since we covered that, I want to talk about the idea of originality itself. Some people have one of two ideas of originality. Neither of these are mine. The first idea is simple. Nothing is original. Everything is based on something else, and therefore any attempt at originality is just ego and arrogance, and you're not original. Also, anyone who tries to keep their work from being stolen is an asshole who's holding back art, culture, and society. Trying to make something new is useless, so just steal whatever you want because who gives a fuck? The second opinion is based on the opposite of the first. All art must be 100% original, and anything even remotely similar to anything else is invalid and terrible. It doesn't matter if you cranked it out in 2 minutes without a single thought or zero skill or creativity went into it. Just so long as no one else has done it before, that's all that matters. Idea 1, when taken to the extreme, results in memes of memes of memes. While idea 2 results in absolute meaninglessness being made by people who care more about being called an artist than making art, and then claiming it's groundbreaking and original simply because no one's ever done it before, as if that's the only measurement there is. To both those who value only originality, as well as those who do not believe originality exists, there is a great misunderstanding about what originality is. To both sides, any hint of others' work fully invalidates the originality of the new work, but there is no respect for or understanding of inspiration. Being inspired by someone or something does not equate to stealing from it. Something can be inspired by something, but still be wholly original. At the same time, taking something and changing a few details does not create something original. There is a line that most people just intrinsically understand. Think of it this way. If I were to walk into a museum and pick the Mona Lisa off the wall, take it back to my house and just start changing things, how much do you think I would have to do before you called it my painting? Now, obviously, if I just slap a mustache on it and then told people, look at this painting I made, I don't think most people would agree with me that I made this. But if I were to look at the painting, think about the light in her eyes, the size of the frame, the placement of the woman in the painting, the pose, the various details about it, and then think about how these things affected my experience, of viewing the painting, and then make an entirely new painting from scratch, all on my own, applying what I learned by thinking about those things, then I don't think most people would accuse me of ripping off the Mona Lisa. Somewhere between these two is the line in the sand. Inspiration is not theft, and altering a few details is not originality. Now, you can be an original artist, or you can be part of the echo chamber, but only one or the other at any given time. Both are good, but one is used to help the other, aka an artist comes out with a piece of art and the public starts parodying and recreating that piece. They help give its message volume and range to be heard by more people, but the artist is not the echo chamber. The chamber is a megaphone the artist shouts into, and while this is good for helping spread the message, it does not work as a cultural conversation, which is the actual goal. For example, if you allow me to begin repeating myself, Artist A and Artist B make different works in response to each other. A makes a song that asks, "What is the meaning of life?" B writes a book that declares, "The meaning of life is family." The A makes an album that suggests family is a distraction that imitates the feeling of meaning, but does not actually provide any. And then B responds by writing another story, and they go back and forth, having a conversation via their art. Even if A is a game developer and B is a filmmaker, A drops an RPG, B releases a short. A makes a walking simulator, B makes a movie, and so on and so forth. Each one making an original piece that either points to a question or makes a statement in response to a question or statement made by the other. Art fueling art. Each completely original, yet inspired by the other. This is a conversation between artists. However, each can also make use of the echo chamber. If the general population turns each of these pieces of art into memes, parodies, copies, recreations, or anything else, then more people are made aware of the conversation and can tap into it. The message is amplified and spread further. In fact, the conversation between the artists may only even be possible because of the echo chamber, like two people communicating by shouting into megaphones at each other from a distance. Lose the phone, the conversation stops. Lose the artist, and the phones have nothing to say. Which, to move the metaphor away from megaphones, results in everyone repeating the same things at each other till infinity with no conversation taking place. To repeat my earlier example, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is family. The meaning of life is family. Family is a distraction that imitates the feeling of meaning, but does not actually provide any. Meaning is what you make it. If you feel meaning, then there is real meaning. Family is a distraction. Nothing means anything. If meaning is what you make it, then anything can mean anything, and therefore everything means nothing. Now, compare that conversation against what is the meaning of life? 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 Mocking, parodying, memeing, etc. These things can help spread a message, but they cannot create one. Art requires creation. A conversation requires artists to inspire each other from one project to the next. A cultural conversation requires that the general public take each individual project and meme it across the globe to spread the conversation as far as possible to everyone so all can take part in it. An artist shouts into the echo chamber. At the far end of the tube, another artist hears it and becomes inspired. They shout back. A conversation takes place. All parts are needed. An artist without the chamber reaches only those who are already within grasp. The chamber without an artist creates nothing. This is a conversation. I say something, you respond to what I said, I respond to your response, and so on. But when you just copy what someone said and repeat it back, you're not responding at all. If I say, "How are you?" and you say, "How are you doing?" then, well, you did say something different, but you didn't build on what I said and take it somewhere new. You went nowhere. If I say, "I went to the zoo today," and you respond, "You went to the zoo?" I went over here. Then I say, "Oh, how was it?" Then we're having a conversation, a back and forth in which we learn about the thoughts and experiences of the other. A cultural response is first and foremost a response. Responding is not repeating. To respond, you have to process what you're responding to and then craft your, response. Building on the works of the past is good, but you don't do that when you just straight up take them. By doing that, you slow down the conversation, you slow down the exchange, you stall it, and that creates stagnation. When you copy someone else, you are causing cultural stagnation. That's why it's important to be original. Being original doesn't mean never seeing anyone else's art, never responding to someone else's art, never touching anyone else's art. It means when you see something, you build on it, but you honestly and actually build on it. You don't just take the idea, change a few things, and call it your own piece of work. You didn't make anything. Yeah, sure, instead of using a mirror, you used a funhouse mirror, so it looks different, but it's still just a copy. You didn't create anything, you changed nothing, you didn't bring it anywhere. To do more repeating, if I write a story, and the story questions, is free will real? Someone else can read that story, and then they can respond by making their own piece of art that says, free will is real because X. And then someone else makes a piece of art that says, X is a lie, free will is not real. And then someone else says, X is not a lie, your interpretation of X is misleading because of Z. And through this, we are having a conversation through art. We are each building off the work of what came before us, but we are each building. We are responding. Someone came and laid down a foundation. Someone else came and put a frame on that foundation. Someone else built on top of that. And through this exchange of artistic expression, we are moving forward through the conversation and growing. But if I make a piece of art that asks, is free will real? And then every other artist just makes their own version of, is free will real? Then no conversation is being had. This is the difference between a cultural conversation and an echo chamber. More and more people making their own versions of, is free will real, increases the odds that someone who will respond will hear the message. This is why we need both. One voice can be lost easily, but with the whole chamber shouting, you know it will be heard. But you can only be one or the other at any given time. It's fine to be part of the chamber, just so long as you're aware that you are part of the chamber. You can even go back and forth between the two, sometimes part of the chamber, sometimes an original voice. But when a part of the chamber thinks they're being original, that is when stagnation begins. The more people try to be original artists, the smoother and more productive the conversation is. The more people try to take part in the echo chamber, the louder and farther the conversation goes. When too many people are part of the chamber, they can echo for so loud and for so long that it can take an entire generation for a single statement to fade and have response to it created. Each literal generation responding with a single statement to the generation that came before. The conversation moving so slowly that it barely appears to be having a conversation at all. If too many people try to be original artists, then the conversation never gets loud enough to make it to the forefront, and you end up with many different conversations quietly being whispered in every small corner of the world, and nothing makes it out to the people who actually need to hear it the most. If you have 3 artists, one does something and the other 2 copy, then you end up with 3 shades of the same voice. If they respond to each other, then you get 3 distinct voices. Too many individual voices shouting at once, and no one can hear anything. Too many shades of the same voice, and only one thing is being said. The middle ground must be maintained. Enough individuals for a conversation to be maintained, yet enough imitators to ensure each voice has enough volume and range to be heard by all those who wish to listen. This is why I care so much about people stealing others' art. Because now we have more imitators, copiers, and straight-up thieves than ever before, and has thrown the entire conversation out of bounds. Using the work of others, not as inspiration, but instead to build your own ego and planting on the corpse of others' labors. This is creating mass stagnation in the minds of all who hear the echo chamber rumble. It feels powerful to call yourself an artist, but artists are people who make art, and in their need to be admired, people have stopped working to make art, and instead have been working to make others call them an artist, completely oblivious to the fact that this title is given to anyone who makes art. That's all they have to do. Make art, you're an artist. And right now, the echo chamber is overflowing with people who do not realize that they are part of it. It is those people who I'm hoping to reach with this. The balance is out of whack, and we need many, many people to leave the echo chamber and begin using their own voices. Stealing others' art, ideas, thoughts, creations has become not only common, it has become something people heartily defend. When I hear people complain about not being able to do X or Y because someone else's copyright, all I hear is people saying, they're stifling my creativity by forcing me to come up with original ideas. And as I've said before, yes, sometimes people take shit too far. If someone creates a zombie movie and then says no one else is allowed to make a zombie movie, then fuck you. There's a world of difference between genre and your specific work. There's a difference between I built a house and you took my blueprints and built my house. And I built a house, so now no one else can build a house or they stole my work. Fucking hell. I've seen some people try to get away with the tools themselves. Like I built a thing with a hammer, so now no one else is allowed to build with a hammer. And seriously, if you think like that, from the absolute bottom of my heart, fuck you, you worthless heap of shit. There are massive differences between stealing another's ideas and just working in the same field or genre or with the same tools. And to try and pretend there isn't is simply to be detached from reality. But people on both sides try to pull this move. People will talk about how copyright needs to be stopped because someone used a hammer and now no one else can use a hammer. But then they'll take their victory and go actually steal someone else's shit and pretend it's totally cool. And then on the reverse side, people will talk about how copyright needs to be fully enforced on everything forever to protect people from having their creativity abused. And then they'll go and take their victory and use it to crush other artists who have nothing to do with them just because they also used a hammer. Inspiration isn't theft, and there's a whole world between stealing someone's art and working in the same medium or with the same tools as another person. It is absolutely different, and sometimes, every now and again, someone will create a new tool. But once they do, that tool goes into the belt of every other artist. And if when that happens, the first person screams, "Copyright!" then all I have to say is, no. They didn't steal your ideas, they're not using your art, you invented a new tool, and they're now using that tool. It's different. And the reason I take this so seriously is because this, too, grinds the conversation to a halt. And that is what's most important. The conversation is everything. Literally. If the conversation stops, life stops. Artists give voices, echoes give volume. Lose one, the other goes with it. And right now, we have far, far too many people echoing fewer and fewer voices. So please, be original, take in the works of others, think about them, and then apply any realizations you had to your own work. But spend the fucking time and come up with your own work. And if you can do this, then you will be taking the conversation to the next level, which is what we all need. Thanks for listening.